Hi gang! Today we're going to be looking at adding and subtracting like fractions. So this is actually going to be pretty easy for us. There's not a lot that we have to remember how to do this. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to look at, we've already talked about what fractions are, how to write a fraction, simplest form, etc., etc. So now we're actually going to do something with the fraction. We're not just going to write it in simplest form. We're actually going to add or subtract fractions. So this is how we're going to add fractions with like denominators. So remember, first of all, my denominator is my number that is on the bottom. So when I see that my denominator is the same, it's really easy. All I have to do is add my numerators. So when I add 3 plus 5, I get 8, so I write that in the numerator spot. In my denominator, since it's already the same, I just rewrite it on the bottom again. So in simplest form, 8/8 is going to be equal to 1. Okay, that's how I'm going to add fractions that have the same denominator. Now, over the past few days, or a little while ago, we were working with models. So let's look at what this actually looks like. This actually looks like, down here I have 1, 2, 3. That's going to be 3/8. So I'm taking 3/8 and I'm adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm adding 5/8. So what happens when I have 3/8 and 5/8? Well, you can see that I get a whole of 1. So this problem up here and this problem down here look exactly the same. This one uses a picture to solve, this one uses numbers. Okay, now same deal when I'm going to be subtracting fractions that have the same denominator. So here I'm going to be taking 5/8 minus 3/8. So again, my denominator is the same, so I can just rewrite my denominator. My numerator is just now going to be, what's 5 minus 3? 5 minus 3 is 2. So I'm isolated to only working with the numerator. When my denominators are the same, when I have like denominators, I only have to worry about my numerators. That's why it's a great thing. Now, all I have to do is remember, how do I write in simplest form? Well, what's the greatest common factor between 2 and 8? Greatest common factor is 2. So I'm going to divide by 2 and I get 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So simplest form here is going to be 1/4. Again, what is that going to look like if I'm making a model? Well, I'm starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8, and I'm going to be subtracting 3/8. 1, 2, 3. So how many tiles am I missing? Well, I can see real easily that I'm missing 1, 2 tiles, so that's going to be, I'm missing 2/8, 2 tiles, so 2/8. And we just said that that's going to be reduced to 1/4. Okay, so again, my denominators are the same. I get to rewrite my denominator, and I'm back to just doing my basic addition, basic subtraction facts. Alright, so let's do some together, and then you'll do some on your own, and then we'll be ready for tomorrow. Alright, so let's take a look at these together. Again, my denominator is the same, so I'm just going to rewrite that down here. I know it's not changing. And I have 3 plus 1 is 4. So again, I'm now going to have to simplify this. So I'm looking, what is my greatest common factor? Greatest common factor between 4 and 6. So my greatest common factor between 4 and 6 is going to be 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my final answer here should be 2/3. Now, again, review. How do I know that this is simplest form? Well, I know this is simplest form because I don't have any common factors between 2 and 3. The only common factor is 1. So once I don't have any common factors besides 1, I know that I'm in simplest form. Okay, let's try this next one. Again, denominator is the same, so I just get to copy it down. And I have 4/10 plus 1/10. So 4 plus 1 is 5. And it looks like I'm going to have to reduce this one. So let's find the greatest common factor between 5 and 10. So if I make a list of my factors, the biggest one that's going to be in common here is going to be 5. So I get to divide 5 by 5 to get 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So 1/2 is my answer in simplest form. Okay, and again, that should make sense. If I have 5/10, I can tell that that's going to be 1/2. Alright, so now you're going to try number 3 and number 4 by yourself, and we'll come back and check your answers in just a minute. Alright, let's take a look at what we got here. For this one, denominator is going to stay the same at 3. My numerator, 1 plus 2 is 3. So if I have 3/3 of something, that means I have 1 whole. So my final answer in simplest form is a whole number 1. Okay. And our last one, sorry I put kind of the same example problem here. 5/7 plus 2/7. Denominator stays the same with 7. 5 plus 2 is 7. So again, when my numerator and denominator are the same, then my final answer is going to be 1. So I have 1 whole. If I've eaten 7 pieces out of 7 pieces of pizza, then I've eaten 1 whole pizza. Good job, Mrs. Hook. Alright, so these are examples with adding. So now let's take a look at some examples with subtracting. Okay, so again, I'm adding and subtracting with like denominators. So in 4/5 minus 1/5, notice that I have 5 in my denominator. So what's my denominator going to be? Fill in the blank. 5. So I'm left with just doing my basic subtraction fact up here of 4 minus 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. So I'm going to have 3/5. Now, do 3 and 5 have any common factors besides 1? No. So 3/5 is a fraction that's going to be in simplest form. So I'm done with my problem. 3/5 is my final answer. Alright, let's take a look at our next problem. Denominator is going to be 8, and I'm going to have 5 minus 3. 5 minus 3 is 2, so I'm going to have 2/8. Let's think all the way back to chapter 13 in my divisibility rules. I know I have to have a common factor here because 2 and 8 are both even, so I know they should be at least divisible by 2. And that is actually going to be our greatest common factor. So our GCF is 2. 2 divided by 2 and 8 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So, final answer here in simplest form is going to be 1/4. Alright, now we've got a couple of you try problems down here. So you're going to try number 6 and number 7, and then we'll come back and see how you did. Alright, let's see how I did on these answers down here. Before I put it in simplest form, I got 4/6 minus 1/6 is going to be equal to 3/6. Greatest common factor is 3, so in simplest form, my final answer is going to be 1/2. 5/12 minus 2/12 I'm going to end up with 3/12. And again, my greatest common factor is actually going to be 3 here again. So when I reduce 3/12 to its simplest form, my simplest form is going to be 1/4. Okay? So that's adding and subtracting fractions that have like denominators, so they have the same denominators, makes it really easy for us. So tomorrow we're going to have 4 bell work problems, and we'll go from there. See you tomorrow.